Yes. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Huh? I remember that. Yeah. This bottom part. Yeah. This was.
Oh, that I remember. But I
Yeah.
was like about the whole thing. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I did this thing.
I remember. You came in and went, shoo.
Yeah, all that busy weekend.
That was a busy. That was a lot of work.
It's been much better though.
Oh yeah. No. No. Yeah, thank you. All right.
I was very, very tempted.
Maybe we should set the room up like this. Then we got people facing us this way.
I thought about throwing you guys on the stage, but I didn't want you up there.
No, we already did that.
Yeah, don't have people behind you.
No, we were up on that stage for quite a few years, and then we brought it down because it gave that, oh, we're looking down on people. Like, it wasn't a good atmosphere at all. It really wasn't.
Yeah,
They're very little, though. Maybe just high.
more like a judge thing. Probably
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like the church, you know how the church has to step up. That's what it was actually before it was City Hall. Church.
I thought was it a courthouse one?
It was church.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
And so was where the Claremont has their police station.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. Oh, great, thank you.
No, with the library stuff, I worked really good. It's been up nice to
That?
with the library.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah.
feels better now. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pizza?
Okay, we're good. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hartle,
Here.
Councilmember Morganelli,
Here.
Vice Mayor Womack,
Here.
Mayor Wynkoop.
Here. Did you get called?
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Okay. All right. Alan, you want to do our prayer? I did that on purpose.
So Lord, thank you for the pound cake.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for this time. Thank you for our rain that we've been receiving, how it's been blessing to us. And once again, we still remember those people in Texas, and those who've lost loved ones, and the circumstances which they were lost. We pray for the recovery teams, those who are working with them, all those involved. We can't imagine what it's like. We have hurricanes, but they had a flash flood. And Father, you know the hearts, the aches and pains of all those who were there. We ask that you wrap your arms around them and give them a bit of comfort. We ask tonight, as we work on this workshop with our budget for next coming year, that you'll give the council and public comments, wisdom for us to how we need to spend the money that you've given to us through our council people and through the taxpayers, that we will use it wisely. In thy name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All righty. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
We're doing our budget. And everybody had a chance to go through it. You saw it's broke up into revenues, expenditures, and then water department, same thing. So it's pretty basic. Why don't you go ahead and explain your side?
Sure. Sure. And just a couple housekeeping things. I just want to go through a couple general budget. But first, Caroline, if you would, on your roll call, make that council member-elect Roberts, and he's participating because it is a workshop and not a decision will be made. First of all, a couple things just to help you understand the budget process. I do this every year. I just kind of want you to understand how some of the numbers flow and not flow in there. The first term is our method of accounting. We use an accrual method of accounting. So that means we charge the budget line item for the month the service was received. So as you look through your budget, you'll go, well, we're 8-9 months into the budget, but we're less than 50%. So an example of accrual, let's say our garbage service, they collect the service, let's say in July, they pick up the service. We get the bill from them on July 20th. We pay it August 5th. Under normal just accounting, you would just put that down as August 5th it was received. But we accrue that expense back to the month that it was received, so we actually put that in as July's number. So some expenses that get billed actually are a little bit less because we keep even as the budget year passes for up to 60 days, we keep putting those numbers back into the budget so you actually know what accrued in expenses or revenues during that year. It's a little confusing, but it's kind of a standard budget process that we do. So whatever the month the service happened is the month that it shows up on the bill. So I just want you to understand as you look at the budget, you'll be like, we're 70% in the budget, but some things are only at 50% of expenses. So just understand because it hasn't accrued back to, because we haven't got the bills through. A little confusing, but I just want you to understand that term.
Well, how about you do this out there. Let's say it's $100,000 expense and 80 of it got spent and we got $20,000 worth of POs out there. Wouldn't you just do an accrual for that account for $20,000, charge the account, and show that that account has $20,000 accrued in it for that month?
Yeah,
You could, and then reverse to your accruals
reverse
next
it.
month. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically it is when whatever the month the expense was expensed in, that's when it hits the budget. So what happens, accrual usually goes past where you see the change is past the budget year. I use the garbage because the October billing of the trash actually went back to last year's budget because that's the month that it happened. So when we get to the end of the budget year, we still have a couple. You see it in the water department a lot, and you see it on some of the services that we do. It's not when the check was paid, but it's when the service was provided.
Right. Yeah. I can talk to you about it.
Okay.
Are incomes the same way? They don't show up until you actually get them, and then they go into the account?
Yeah. So it kind of depends on what the income is. So like when say property taxes come in, whenever we get those in, they go in for that budget year or they go in for as soon as we get them in. For the water account, if we received April's revenue in May, it shows up as April's revenue because we want to know how much revenue we have in each month, and that's the expectation of the auditors. So this is almost every city does that. There's a few that just do it, just when it comes in, we throw it in there. But what you do is you get a lot of problems sometimes if you have some big bills coming through and you don't put it in the budget year you expected that bill to be in, then it throws your budget all out of whack for both years. So you budget a certain amount of money. You want to make sure that money, if it was budgeted for that fiscal year and that event happened in that fiscal year, that it's charged that fiscal year. So that's what we're doing with that. And I'll get a little more in depth. I just want you to understand a little bit if some of those numbers look off, there is a reason, there's an accounting reason and method for why they're a little bit lower on the expenditure sides when you see them. We have general funds. General funds can be used for anything. Some revenues can go to general funds. Some can go to both categories. We have restricted funds. Restricted funds can only be used for certain things, such as the gas. I believe the gas sales tax has to be used for roadways, things along that. They have to go to certain expenses on those revenues, and likewise the expenses have to stay in there. So as we go through those, realize some funds that we receive just can't go because, I want to put it over here. We're restricted to where they could go. Then we have enterprise fund. And enterprise funds are funds for the service that we provide, and that would be your water system and your sewer system. They stay in their own fund category, and we don't intermingle those funds back and forth. So just wanted to cover those. I was going to start off with revenues, Mayor and Council, and I usually don't spend a whole lot of time on revenues. I more, they kind of are what they are. I'd be glad to answer any questions on them. And the only two things I want to point out to you would be the ad valorem taxes, because our new development, we had a nice little jump in those from 600,000 to 753,314 this year. And the only other item I want to point out to you is line 42, which is FEMA revenue. That's the minimum I think we will get this next fiscal year for the event that happened which will be last fiscal year, but we should get a minimum of 250. I have that offsetted as an expenditure if you guys want to repair the boat ramp, which from those FEMA funds when we get those in. If we don't get it in, we don't do the expenditure. So that one's kind of contingent. Other than that, I'd be glad to answer any revenue questions.
What was the grants revenue?
What line am I in? Is that Mayor?
For 25. 130,000.
Let's see, grant and donate, that's only 500. So the 130 is the half-cent sales tax.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, half inch, okay.
Yeah, so the half-cent sales tax.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
My eyes weren't working.
No problem. Caroline, Caroline, could you go in and on my shelf, I think the middle shelf, the very top, and I think I have some rulers in there, some metal rulers. Could you grab those and see if we got enough for everybody? That probably will help the process.
Anita got it back.
Yeah, the paper.
Hey, Paul, I have a couple before you get,
No, most definitely.
before you head down this. When you gave me this was fine, but I was sort of looking at it. I was hoping to see something in Excel to make it a little bit easier and sortable. So I had spoken to someone, Aaron, who he had assisted me converting this into Excel. Is that something that we could do going forward to get this in Excel?
All you would have to do is call and ask me, and I could send it to you. I'm a little hesitant, though, sending some documents out on Excel, just because if they're manipulated and it got to the public, like if you wanted to go in and say, I wanted to change, streets to 500,000-600,000, and somehow that accidentally got circulated as a document on behalf of the town, that worries me a little bit. But if you do want Excel, just contact me and I'll have my send it to you. I would ask that you be very cautious with it.
Make it viewable and not editable. We can look at it, but we can't change it.
That would work. Now, the other request that I would have, sorry, in my throat here, at the end of this, so at the end of the columns, so I'm going to say, if you're looking at this sheet, right, so on what I have in front of me here is over here, I have projected percentage change versus 2025 and a 3-year change from 2023 to 2026, just so I can sort of, I was curious to see, increase, decrease from last year's budget to this year in a percentage, but also to see 3 years out as well. And I can show you this after the meeting if you like, to for what I'm looking at, because it makes it helps. I'm just trying to find one here that there was a few. We'll get to them at some point, but we'll.
That is something if council would like staff to start putting together, we could definitely do that. I'll leave that to council if that's something you guys want us to do. Obviously, things that do take some extra time, I want to make sure council wants that done, because on staff end, I'm fine doing it if that would benefit most of the council.
And so council understands, the reason I was looking for that was I was sort of looking for things that stood out to me. Again, I don't want to jump ahead on too much of this. For example, garbage, it's a 19.4% increase from last year, from what I'm seeing. That's just one example. And again, I don't want to jump ahead, but that was something that was useful to me, was to see percentage changes. So it's a number that you're like, okay, what happened here? Why did we jump 70% for something over 3 years? It's just something that for me was useful.
Okay, is that something council would like me to put together for them? You can ponder on it, we can come back to it, whatever.
Yeah, think about it. I don't know. I really don't know.
And yeah, think about it, because as we go through it, I'm going to reference some numbers and different percentages, and maybe it'll be something that at that point you guys will think will be something you'd like to look at.
The information's there. It's just that it would be incumbent upon us to do the calculations like you did.
Right.
So there's no information missing in that. To me, that's the important part.
Well, is it going to be My only thought is that it's a number, which is good, but it doesn't tell the whole story, in that if the vendor's fuel costs went up and all these other things, landfills go up, how much of it is like, well, it went up 20% or 19 or 30%? That's not because they decided, hey, we're going to charge you more. It's because that's the cost of doing business and everybody else did it. How can you figure out what, you know?
That's going to be one of the questions I have, what you just
Okay.
said right there was, because there's going to be some of these that stood out to me, and my question, another column that I don't have access to would be, why did it go up that much? Like if it hits a certain percentage, and again, I know I'm getting ahead, like, I'll just say it here, because I have, if anything's higher on the revenue side than say 2x CPI, why did it increase or decrease? And on the expense side, maybe 10 or 15% of a reduction. I'm just curious why some of these numbers, you know, it doesn't have to be obviously from 3 years out, but even just from last year, some of these numbers are much higher.
Didn't the garbage guys come in and ask for an increase twice?
They,
Twice.
yeah, they did, but you also have to recognize it's not, you got a couple things going on. You got your CPI increases, you have your landfill increases, then we have more users. So the biggest part of the increase is because we're anticipating there's going to be another 45 to 50 users on the garbage system. And so when you look at it, and again, a lot of this budget is estimating. We're looking at what permits have been pulled, you know, how you know, we kind of pay attention how some of the water stuff comes in, and you try to do your best guess estimate. I mean, some of the stuff you're just never, the taxes are about the easiest thing to nail because it is what it is, as long as they pay them. But, you know, with garbage services, even the half-cent sales tax, you know, it depends on how much sales tax the state collects and different things. Same with the gas tax, you know, when gas prices are high, you collect more gas tax. When they're doing now lower, it lowers down a little bit, you know, because it's a percentage of the sale of the
And trust was
dollar.
just an example, I mean,
The what?
another one, for example, notary fees. It jumped 1,900% from last year.
Which line's that?
29.
Yeah, thank you, 29. Yeah, I
Which
think
one?
I'm one.
29?
29.
And again, it's just, that's just the reason
Sure.
I'm asking
So,
for that.
yeah, so let's go,
explanation.
you know, that's why I guess I'm kind of on this. If you have questions, you know, let's go through the revenues and ask questions. So the big changes in notary fees, because in the past, I want to say before last year's budget was passed, we didn't collect a credit card service fee at the town. And now we collect a credit card service fee, so you can see it, honestly, for 2025, that's been $9,100. And so I'm estimating, you know, 98% of that is building. You know, Pulte Homes and some developers, they just pay everything with a credit card. They got a platinum card, I guess, and they use it. And so we're anticipating a little bit less growth in the housing, just as things are slowing down a little bit and trying to be conservative. So that's why that went from 9,000 to 5,000. Again, it's a trying to be your best educated guess, but that's why there's a change in that. Any other questions on the general fund revenues? Jumping over to water utility revenues on page 2, which will be starting line 58.
I'm sorry, just go to, I wanted to ask about line 54,
Okay, yes, Mayor.
150,000. What's the
Yes.
balance for?
So that 150,000, and you'll see it in the expenditures. So that's when we take part of our fund, our excess cash, and move it forward. So we have 150,000 in parks that we, as a town, the code fine money, we designate it for the playground for Kirk Park. We're unlikely going to spend that this fiscal year, and so I'm just moving it from last fiscal year to this fiscal year, if that makes sense. So those are code fines that we've collected in the past that we have in our account, and we're not going to spend it this
Like
year.
40 from the Taylor property?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right. That's what I thought. Okay. Thank you.
So water, you know, those first two, the potable service and irrigation, are, you know, good examples where, We're at this month, but we're still going to be going into next fiscal year. It'll still roll back some of this fiscal year because they use it the prior month. We bill it, and then we put those revenues in. So these are always a month behind on the water revenue collections. Obviously, the irrigation water's doing much better. Potable, the water system's in a pretty healthy place right now. I think it's, probably the healthiest it's been in town for last decade or so. It looks very positive.
Willow Ridge helps.
Willow Ridge helps, and I think, I believe the Hills of Montverde is getting close because they just was out there with the county doing their water testing and running through their E. coli's one more time and everything. So we're probably going to see that from them. Plus we get the 25 surcharge, and I really don't have that calculated in here either. So that would be another good water source that'll be coming. Any more questions on water?
Yeah, is Apopka Sound on there too?
Apopka Sound is on here. So it's mixed up. It's part of our potable service. But what we did was, if you look on surcharge for out-of-town limits, which we never had we didn't put a surcharge in last year's budget, but we started collecting that data anyway. We're estimating those surcharges being at 34,000 because we're already collected 20, and that's strictly like Apopka Sound. Then we'll pick up a whole other development. Sewer utility is being really healthy. It's been a fairly low maintenance thing for us so far. Everything's still under warranty on the sewer system.
And that's Willow Ridge, right?
That is Willow Ridge and Apopka Sound.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it's not calculated in here, but it'll also include the Hills of Montverde. And
Eventually, yeah.
I did, once they get going and we collect that system, that probably will require a budget amendment at some point in the future, next fiscal year, once we get all of our fees for what it's going to take to monitor and how quick they're going to build the houses. We just don't have enough information to really budget for this year. Any questions on revenues, Mayor? Anything else you want me to cover?
No, that's fine, yeah.
Well, Paul, you just mentioned, we can't calculate houses and so forth, but that's basically, in a sense, the connection fees and so forth. Service charges and connections are going to be a wash because, a budget amendment for meters and so forth, but we're also getting revenue, so that's not
Correct.
really an amendment.
Correct.
Adjustment.
We know we're going to have connection fees and some development. I always try to do a conservative, and every single year I always come back and just amend the budget because a lot of the connection fees, like when we purchase meters, it's in and out. They pay $2,100. We go buy the meter for $1,000, pay someone $800 to put it in plus Chuck's time. So if we sell 200 meters and the cost goes to $400,000, we're going to collect $400,000 and plus. So it always come back. And it's the same with permitting. It acts in the same manner. It's kind of an in and out. If the expenditures go up, the revenues are going up. And again, you're trying to do your best guess off of, it's hard to get the hindsight of what will it really be, and that's why the legislators allow us to do budget amendments, obviously, as we go through, as we get more information. Okay, expenditures, are we keeping up with up there on everything? Thank you, Mai. And Mai's here, who helped put this budget together, did a lot of the work this year, and she does have a mic if you want to ask her any specific questions. She loves talking. She's like, please don't let me say a word. Okay, so let's go to the first expenditure category, and that would be town council, so we keep track of that. One significant thing I want to point out that will be a change. When this budget was put out and given to you, we got some new information related to our election expense, where the election officer gave us the estimate for our election, and it actually came in at $18,844. Never used to cost that, and overtime, car rental, you name it, they're giving it to the town. So that will be changed when we do our final budget. Just so you know, you can write that in there. I'll probably just set it at 19,000.
The 5,000 is going to be 18.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought.
Yeah.
Sure.
Anita might have a little history on that, but
Yeah. No comment.
then I'll just leave it, and Does anybody have any specific questions in town council?
Where's the trip to Key West?
It's under repair and maintenance.
There you go.
That was my question, repair and maintenance. I jumped from 100
big
to
jump.
8,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me find it real quick. What number is it, please?
Seven?
It's 7.
Seven.
Yes. So the repair and maintenance, I put that money in to do I won't say fix it, but to put a cover over this. We talked about just putting some board over or something like that just to kind of clean it up in here a little bit. We got the peeling paint going on over here, everything else. So that's really in this room to do a few improvements so it's just a little more habitable.
Cosmetic.
You know, it's going to be hundreds of thousands there's no insulation in any of these walls whatsoever.
And then subscriptions, that one jumped up as well. Is that because of South Lake TV?
Yeah, so that includes two things. It's South Lake TV. It also includes your subscriptions to Florida League of Cities. I always put a little extra in there. There's a couple specialty things like the Association of Mayors, if the mayor wanted to participate in that at some point. There's a couple little things in there like that.
Good.
Everybody okay with what we got there?
So far.
Okay. So next is financing and auditing. We will come back to this when we get to employees, but when you look at the salaries, I have one additional full-time position. That's an office position. That's going to be a combination of 10 to 15 hours kind of doing some of my assistant stuff to get through emails, things along that line. But then the other thing is we are just so busy right now that we really haven't been able to cross-train hardly any employees in other areas. So if I lost an employee, it's really going to set us back hard. So this position would kind of float around and learn some additional tasks for everybody, then also assist me in some areas of trying to help me get some of my paperwork out the door and completed and filed, things along that line. So we'll get to that a little more when we get to salaries, but I'm sure you see an increase in that as well. Under professional services and software, line item 27, you'll see a change in that. And that is for some technology upgrades. So there's a couple things I'm looking into. We're looking at a software that might assist in replacing Citizen Serve, and part of this is also in the water department too. It flows over to something that's a little bit easier for staff to track and get notifications. And I'm also looking at an app for the town where people could easily access some services and do some things online, and we can get information out better versus trying to fool with Twitter and Facebook and all these things that our citizen can just sign up for an app and they can get all the notifications through that app. I don't know how that will. I've looked at a little bit into it, but I figured let's see if we get it budgeted first and go from there.
I can tell you a couple of cities I talked to don't like it because they bought one that did too much. So I just throw that out there.
Yeah.
They said like oh God, what was it? I think it was Mineola said they didn't like it because it does too much and it gets too confusing. And now they're working harder on the phones explaining it.
Well, and you got to be careful too, because
I don't remember which one they used though.
I mean, you can get residents, like if you put code enforcement on, they hit a button, take a picture or something like that, and you just get people driving around, you know, it's like, you know, it could get a little carried away. But if we could figure out a way to use it to get information, the more notifications out, it's in there to explore and look at. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll end up there.
Yeah, Suave Citizen. That one's
Yes.
supposed to be a very simple one that everybody likes. So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know enough about it. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I did a little bit. I probably spent a couple hours looking and running just a couple online demos, and there's some neat things out there. But I will say I did not get heavy into any of them. I figured
Yeah.
to make sure council wants to put some money before I put any more time into it. Is
Mhm.
there any open records concerns or public would use an apps or any of you come across that would be any problems? Okay. I think outside of that I guess, does anybody have specific questions?
Well, just that we paid the auditors too much, but there's nothing you can do about that.
No. Well, they'll be doing a double audit again this year.
No, for the grants.
Hey, Paul, quick, don't know how this is gonna relate or if it's gonna get later spread out. On our contractual services,
Yes.
our office staff uses our copy machine, and a couple of years ago, we had one go down, and that ain't cheap. Have we figured, or our contract sort of limited to what repairs are done on the machine as to what the supplier of the machine will do? Do we have anything looking forward to in our budget for breaking it all down from financial to each department, that if we lose our copy machine, what do? We gotta do a
Sure.
budget amendment to say, hey, we need another $60,000 for a copy machine? Have
So-
we figured to spread that into a system?
So the good news, so we used to do the copier lease where you paid for the maintenance program, and we were doing that, and you paid, I don't remember what it was, a nickel a copy and everything. I stopped that 3 years ago. We bought the copier outright. I want to say it was only 20 grand is what the whole thing cost. And we have an agreement. I think we do pay them a small amount, and they come out and do service charges for us. And then we just buy everything. And part of the library budget in there, I had some other miscellaneous office supplies. I'm going to buy another copier for the library, leave this one in here. Then probably next budget cycle, I will rotate the oldest one out and just get another new one. Usually copiers go 3 years, then they just,
Well, it seems to be done.
it's just a 3-year lifestyle. You know, your car goes 7 to 10, a copier goes 3. It's just the
It
reality
seems
of
to
it.
be an Achilles heel that you don't expect it, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we switched over to the Ryko. I think we had a Xerox before that, night and day. I mean, we've had the service guy out 2 times, I think, since we've owned it for nearly the last 2 years. And we did have a lightning strike that cost us $800 for the little, it went through the internet port when it hit everything else. And insurance took care of that.
Are we able to print all this on our copier, or does that go out to services?
No, this was all printed on the copier. So that copier, the copier we have prints up to 11 by 17, 8.5 by 11, full color. It duplexes, it hole punches, it paperless staples, or stapleless staples, and does regular staples. So it's very efficient, 55 pages per minute. That was the main thing. I replaced it last year. We were only running 30-page minutes. I just had 2 or 3 staff members standing in front of the copier like this sometimes, and it's like, you know, we got to get more productive on it.
So
Well,
what kind of,
that's one thing I wanted to, just to kind of clear the air on, and so that going forward, we're staying ahead of it instead of doing budget amendments and say, oh man, we got a problem, how do we fix it? So
Yep.
so what kind of printing items do we send out of the house for that 3,500?
What's that?
The printing and copying, the items that we don't print in-house, what would that be?
So, no, that's usually our printing and copying supplies.
Oh, that's it.
When we order
Okay.
the ink and paper, things like that, it
So it's
flows
still
into that.
in-house?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Gotcha.
Line 50, Capitol Town Hall, I want to point that out. We have 2 air conditioners here at Town Hall. I'm having probably repairs 3 to 4 times a year on them. I'm probably getting up to maybe $6,000+ a year every time they need something. So I thought we would start with replacing 1, maybe 2, see what price we get on them. So that's what that $25K is for.
Maybe we need to look at commercial air conditioners, like Rude, and not, not the Train and the Carrier, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I've seen people start running Rudes at their house.
No problems. Our biggest issue, and it's kind of neat now that you see the new library, that air unit, I hardly ever hear it run at the new library. This one never turns off in the summer. I mean, there's no insulation in the wall.
Yeah,
The
like
windows are, it just constantly runs. It'd be interesting. I haven't had a chance to compare the electric bills, but I'll do that at one point in the future and show what those are to you guys.
I have a question on line 42,
Yes, sir?
Christmas and performance bonus. Not that I'm a Scrooge here. My concern is this is a 20% jump over last year.
More employees.
Employees?
Yeah, so yeah, we have more employees, and we have a couple part-time employees, and so generally, I give up to, on the Christmas, up to a $1,100 performance bonus, because that ends up being just under $1,000 for employees, based off their performance. So and occasionally during the year, I will give a couple of them that, that really put a lot of extra overtime in and things like that. I'll do a little $500, something along that line.
Well, plus we're trying to hire 2 public works people right now.
Correct.
So that's figured in that. that they would get a bonus.
Yeah, we have one public works position that currently, we just made an offer yesterday, by the way, for made a job offer to somebody. Or we might get fully staffed in public works, so that's not even included in this last fiscal year. Then we have the new position, as the mayor said, for the finance, for the office, if you approve that. So if you don't approve that position, that'll come down a little bit.
And then I just was curious on what line 45 is. It just says TM allowance. I don't know what that is.
Sure. If you, when we get back into the next section, there's a page with all the employee stuff in there, and so that's my cell phone allowance and car allowance. Basically, it's divided. You'll see that in all departments.
Okay.
I think. Mine, is there anything with telephone and car in that? And I did not increase that. That's the same as last year. I think it's just car and cell phone that's in there, but we'll check on that and get back to you shortly. No problem. Finance, everybody's good? Legal counsel, Anita, 53 through 57 on the same page. Everybody's good on that?
Oh, yeah.
I had a question on legal.
Yes.
So I just need a second though to find my notes on this one. Oh, here. All right. So in 2023 we spent 76,000, and then 2024 we dropped to 42. 2025 we budgeted for 43, and this might be what you were talking about earlier, by the way. So we only spent 28,000 so far this year, and then but
Correct.
we're already projecting 73 for next year. No offense, Anita.
No, I've always traditionally, I try to keep our legal high because it's one of those things you don't know what's coming. If a lawsuit comes, 20,000 goes out the door quick. And it really depends on how much council has. Now, really the main reason you see an increase, and Anita's already seen this, and you'll probably see it, is we have a lot of grant stuff coming and a ton of RFQs, RFPs, bid documents, management documents. It's going to be both for Anita and myself and it's going to be a really busy year from a legal standpoint. We're talking, we usually do, historically, we've probably done less than one RFP a year. We're talking probably 5 or 6 this next year. I mean, we just put out the one for the lawn service, and we're going to have the water system, the water alone this year is going to be 3 or 4 separate RFPs. And every one of those has to be reviewed. Anita has to help us rank them, put them together, and so that's why.
Okay, and then follow up to legal, to an email I had sent in reference to legal, and that was the contract for legal. The last, and maybe you can correct me, I only have a contract from 2007. Is that the last time do we have a contract? I remember you and we exchanged emails back and forth a little bit about it.
I think there was an amendment, I thought last year, where it changed the hourly rate for development review projects. I didn't change the hourly rate for town work. So I think there is an amendment to that effect.
All right,
It
I
was
appreciate
approved.
that. Yeah,
I'll look.
Yeah, please look.
When we search, I probably didn't see it, but
it just was weird because when
And
remember I
Caroline,
had
if you
asked for
could make a note to
contracts,
look for
and
that, please.
The only one I got from was 2007.
But that would have
just
been it originated in 2007. There have been no changes over the years, and then I did ask for an increase on development review fees.
Thank you.
Sure. And as you're looking at these categories, just FYI, we're just under the statutes, different line items within that budget category, we can go over or under, at least I can as your manager, legally go over and under them. So, but we can't go over the budget category without coming back to the council and amending the category. So when it comes to legal, if we don't use it, I can't move it to say, to go buy, a new chair or something like that. It has to stay in the budget category itself, just FYI. So it just stays in our cash reserves if we don't use it.
Do you guys understand that? So he can move money in the category, but not out of the category. It took me like 10 years to realize.
Yeah, because it's, you know, things move around, you know, when you see something that's going over, generally you try to keep something else under because you're working with the information you have at the time. You're trying to predict what's going to happen in the following year. You know, garbage is, for example, we don't know really how many people we're going to have on garbage service, you know. All right, next is page 3, permitting. This generally is an in and out category, so if we collect it, especially when it comes to professional service and contract services, if we don't collect it, we don't spend those numbers. If we generally, what's been happening, I under budget this one on purpose. We always go over it because I don't want to go way out there and put something that's not realistic. I generally under budget, and then I come and ask for a budget amendment when we go over. And again, you could see, for instance, we're already at 689, you know, we have a budget of 689. Am I already projecting below that? You just don't know.
I have another, on line 79, we have TM allowances for 3,500, so.
Yeah,
3,300, I'm sorry.
so on the page, oops, I don't even have those pages. You'll have to print those off for me at some point. Or are they in my other packet? Sorry, I'm on my notes packet. Let's just. Yeah, there we go.
This guy? Oh, yeah, no, it'd be the last 2 pages. The last 2 pages in your packet.
Yeah, there should be one that breaks it out in detail. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that in mind.
What's the top of the page say?
You want to grab
The top says salaries by position, and then it has a position, so for town manager in the middle.
5.5% increase?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And then it breaks it down by percentage and in what department the percentage is allocated. Here's mine
Do we have that one?
Oh, you gave me one, thank you.
Do you have that?
I think you gave mine early.
I might have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're
And council, what we have a sheet I'll give to you guys. I'll email over to you that actually does the breakout for the health insurance in the town. So basically, I have a town manager allowance in the contract for the phone in the car, and it breaks out to all the same budget categories at the same percentage, whatever that lump sum is total for the year, whatever we break my salary out into all the different departments.
So the allowances that we see here, that is your
The
allowance for
percentage
that-
allowance, correct.
Yeah, percentage for that department.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So basically, we add them all up as we go along, you get something close.
Correct. And so, you know, again, I want to come back to why. Let me explain why we break them out, because maybe that'll help you, Mr. Morganelli. So, and the rest of council. So, coming back to the restricted funds, unrestricted funds, there you'll see, for instance, I'm broken out into probably 5 different categories there, different departments. And again, because you can use different funds for certain things. For instance, part of my job I do is in permitting. Permitting fees can't be used for other things besides permitting, and you have to, the fees you collect have to be associated with the work, or you have to return them. So part of my salary is in permitting, so that uses a part of that funds that comes from that. Part of what I do is in the water system. Those are enterprise funds. If I don't break my salary out, then I'm doing water work, but we're not really taking into account the full value or the full cost of what it's costing to run the system. And so we do our best to go through, and this changes a little bit every year. I kind of reevaluate it, and you know, you have different people that do things in different departments, and we really break that out to spread the money out among all the different funds, because the revenues come in from different funds and have to be stayed in some of those categories. In streets, some money comes in that has to go to streets, and water has to go to water, and permitting has to stay in permitting, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, in bigger cities, they have more defined people in each department. We don't. We have one person doing 3 departments.
Yeah,
It's kind of a flexibility.
It is. Well, it's trying to account for the expenses where the expenses are made. If we were in Claremont, for instance, you would have a water director, a person under him, assistant person over the water system, and all of his staff, and you would show all that, and then you would probably still see a little bit of the manager switched up, or they wouldn't care because it's so high. But here, I'm performing the functions of the water department director, a little bit of public works director, a little lighter, so I try to break my salary up based off where I'm doing my work and spread the work out. So every department, you can really see what it costs to run a department. Like code enforcement, I have a little bit in code enforcement because I do a little bit of code enforcement. It's not a high amount, but it's reality. I do code enforcement. And when we collect those fines go to help pay part of that salary.
You got in permitting for you 3,300, but in your sheet here's 33,000.
That's just the TM allowance, I think. That's just the
It
town
is.
manager allowance.
It
So
is.
that's just the percentage for the car allowance and the cell phone.
So where's your salary? You're in that 114.
It's in the very top. Correct. Did that answer that or help explain that?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Ask a
so.
question if
No,
you don't
I
get
think
it.
so. No, when we get more towards the employee stuff, then I'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions in permitting? Okay.
Paul,
Yes.
in permitting on 84, capital equipment and buildings, we're not showing anything. Is that due to the fact that we're basically carrying over from last year's stuff too?
Yeah, so the capital equipment and buildings is where part of the funding of the library, because again, you can use permitting fees. We put a permitting office in the new library, and that 100,000 is that pro rata share of the cost. Again, trying to divide it up because you can use certain funds in certain places. And obviously that money is going to be spent this fiscal year if everything continues on the library as we think it is. Okay. Next is public safety. We actually did do let me get this one, 50. We did a $30,000 increase into public safety. At the bottom, you only see a $7,000 increase. So what we did was, in the past, we had the vehicle that we had leased, the public safety vehicle. That lease is now paid off. So I rolled the money that we normally paid over there into more officers. So we're actually getting a pretty big increase, a $30,000 increase in police presence, if that's where the council wants to go. And it's only running a little over $7,000 more to do that. Be glad to answer any public safety questions you have.
They had insurance last year, and now they don't this year. It's line 94. I think it's 94. No, it's
96.
96. Okay, yeah, 96.
And what was the question on it?
I'm looking at equipment leases, not 13 last year, and
Oh yeah, so that was a vehicle that we had to lease, and so that car is fully paid off now, and so I just took that additional fund and put in an additional officers.
yeah, we were talking about when we first started that whole program to redo it again every year, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have any miles on it.
Yeah, I think the car's probably got 6,000 or 7,000 miles on it.
So I would just keep it.
Yeah, I mean, we could roll it another couple of years. And honestly, right now, the car things aren't as good as what they used to be. I mean, Ford's really backed off a little bit because of the inventory issue. So hopefully the next state bid will be more aggressive.
So I'm going to start by saying, once again, I support FHP. My concern is we're now jumping 40% to them, additional money to them, for one of the officers, at least one, to basically drive around and wave at people. I struggle with that. And that's again, I gave everyone all in council before. I don't know if anyone had a chance to review it. I went back and I looked at 2001, 2021 to 22, and that same officer, the same thing. We had that particular officer in general, I'm just picking on one here, 20 tickets in all of 2021 to 2022, which means it cost us as a town almost $18,000 for him to essentially write 20 tickets. When you have other people that have written 200, 230 tickets and more. I guess the question I have with FHP is, what is our expectation that we're paying for? I don't want to spend $140,000 for an officer to just drive around. That's a concern to me. I mean, we have public safety. They could fill in for that and drive around and wave. I know they can't get out of the vehicle, but if that's what that officer's going to do is just drive around and wave, I have a concern for that. To spend that kind of money, $140,000.
Okay, so I think I'll probably just weigh in a little bit. So the direction of this council, and I'll address the individual officer in a minute, but the direction of the council in the past has been a multifold, I guess, approach with law enforcement. It was to work on speeding issues, crime prevention, patrol, parks, streets, have a presence. And that's how those officers are hired. We also, for instance, we hardly have any highway patrol working this month. I have sheriff's department filling in. They write less tickets.
There ain't no
They patrol. They're in for a presence because this council has said is we just need them to sit out there. They need to be aware. It slows people down. It keeps crime down. And for whatever it is, the officers are under my authority as a manager. Respectively, it's not the council's decision to remove or replace any officers. That's my decision, but I understand that, but I make that decision based off what the direction is from the council. But I will say that that same officer has pulled people over and has issued a lot of warnings too. Not as many as the other ones, but he does issue warnings. It is against the law in Florida for a council or a manager or any city to establish any type of quota or tell an officer you have to write so many tickets or you don't have a job. So we got to be careful with that. I'm not saying we do that, but that is a statutory requirement, and it actually came out of a very similar situation in a city up north when I was doing some history, where exact same thing going on. They weren't writing enough tickets. You know, if you want your job, go write tickets. So we got to be careful how we approach that. But that's the question, council. Do we have officers, from what I'm hearing, to write tickets, and we base them off tickets, or we base it off, is traffic improving? Is speeding improving? Is crime, do we feel safe? Do we want them patrolling? Do we want them around? Every officer has a different fold. I think I only have 4 days this month with, maybe 6, but 4 or 6 days where that officer is the only one working. He's working 2 days a week, and there's all the other ones are on vacation. I think I have maybe like 4 to 6 other days, and otherwise I have the sheriff's departments in here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think this week, to fill in, just to have a presence in town and to patrol so people know the town. So my question, if you want something done different as far as highway patrol, I need to know what the direction is from council. If you're only wanting traffic enforcement and nothing else, that changes how I would view that situation, and then maybe I would probably have to look at and have a discussion with that officer a little bit more. We need to be careful. There's a lot of politics, both from the sheriff's department, from all the other agencies, revolving around highway patrol, and we can't burn a bridge. We got to be careful what we say here and how we do it, no matter what. So I just want to throw that out to you as we have this discussion. The next thing, it's not easy to find highway patrol. I've been looking for another officer. I've asked the other officer, asked somebody. Most of them, they get paid a lot more to go sit on the turnpike and watch the movie than they come into town or to do something. And I've been trying to recruit and find another one and ask the guys, and they haven't found one yet, and we've been asking for several months. So for whatever that's worth, we don't pay as well as what they could make doing other jobs and for the amount of work they have to do. So I'll kind of leave that. Council, if you want something to change, you need to kind of let me know. We could put that as a discussion item. I mean, obviously we could do it on the budget, but those are just my only comments. Based off what the directions council for active patrol, being visible, being out, I think we're doing a pretty good job with that. They're doing a good job within reason. I can't micromanage the highway patrol. All I can do is encourage them to be out there, be proactive, be visible. That's I don't have any authority over them. Basically, do that. That's our goal.
Well, I will admit, when Mr. Morganelli presented the statistics, my initial reaction was, yeah, that's a lot a lot of money for somebody that doesn't appear to be producing results. Having said that, I don't work too far. I will come home for lunch on my way into town last week, maybe the week before, I forget now. I'm assuming it's the officer that we're referring to, but I followed him. He went all over town, just about all over town. I only, maybe 15 minutes watching him moving around town in and out. I saw interaction with people over the sports courts. I saw interaction with him with residents as he drove around the park area. He may not be writing tickets, but I unequivocally can say I have followed him all over town. How often it happens, couldn't tell you, but he's not just twiddling his thumbs. That much I can attest to.
Well, I don't know, I kind of feel we can't manage the police officer. He does. And if we don't like it, we need to address it, but I'm okay with it, because I can tell you Lake County didn't do nothing for 10 years here, nothing. If they wrote 2 tickets a year, that's it. And I don't want to go much more into that, but it's not good for the town.
Well, I really did like to see the interaction that he had with the residents, with citizens. That meant a lot to me.
Well, since we're weighing in, I'm the lightweight, I guess. I'm going to weigh in. You can't put a value, my personal opinion, on security in that just the comfort that you can go to know that, yeah, there's somebody there. We don't know when he's there, if he's there. I have to agree with Carol, Councilwoman Womack, that I have seen him interact people in my neighborhood. He's not planning to stop by. They'll come walk out, watering the lawn, mowing, they'll stop and they'll walk up to him and they'll ask a question or something, and he's not like, well, I gotta go. So there's an interaction there between them and us. I think that's a comfort feeling that the residents feel, whether they want to admit it or not, that they've got somebody. And I have to agree with Joe 100%. Living on Fosgate, that was Rocket Trail motorcycle, was no help from Lake County. Zero. They were sitting at 455. You could hear them coming from.
They're sitting at Sonny's.
Yeah, and nothing. Zero, nothing. And it's like, okay, the trooper sits there in and out, and those guys, you'll hear them every now and then, but they're not like they used to, because it's that unknown factor. Is he on top of the crest of the hill? Has he got his gun out? And they don't know that. And they still run what they do with the crotch rockets, but it's a lot less. There are some troopers, when I travel down to Miami and everything, my drivers occasionally, you interact with the different stations down there. And there are some troopers, man, they get God bless them, they like to write tickets. They'll write tickets all day long. Anybody, everybody, turn signals, whatever. They'll write a ticket. And you're just kind of going, I'm glad he didn't get me. I'm glad he didn't get me. But they're there. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I've seen some of our canine guy rolling into town or rolling out of town on the patrol, and it's like, who's up at 4 o'clock? Well, the amount of times that he's got his lights on at the academy, he's pulled somebody over at 4:30 in the morning, you're going, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He caught somebody thinking they're going to get away with something. So I have to say, Paul, keep doing what you're doing, and Joe, I agree with you on your principle, but there's sometimes that you have to look at the whole picture on everything.
I am, and to comment on you, like, the motorcycle situation, that's not resolved. I mean, I know you're saying it's not resolved.
Well, this past weekend in Lake County they were like constantly, 4th of July weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there was no let up, and that was the weekend that Lake County was doing. And if you couldn't hear them, it was like, come on, give me a break.
It's hard to get FHP or Lake County to work on Sunday morning. Nobody wants to work. That's the biggest problem we have.
Well, and understand, there's never an end resolution. I spent over 10 years as a police officer for 20 plus Some of those years, a 20-plus person department, smaller town, 10,000. You had officers that wouldn't write a ticket. You had some that was in the middle, and they would hide around the corners and write everybody they could. But, the complaints never stopped coming in. We could sit on a city block nonstop, and as soon as we're gone, we'd still get a complaint in. So I think it's more of a process that you are trying to discourage the behavior, and trying to the other piece of it is just the safety of the town. And I do really feel, just as my experience as a police officer, when there's a police officer in the area, there's less likely to be a crime. If you're in a hot area and you park a police car in that area, people are less likely to break in a house or do a crime, just because the odds of getting caught are higher. So, we just got to recognize the bridge is going to open, is going to probably create a little bit more of some scenarios where we need more of a presence, just because you may have some homeless that come across the bridge. It may become a quick target for some people in the part of town because it's a quick access to get away from the bridge. But I do believe police presence does really have an effect, and I don't, statistically, I don't know from giving warnings or tickets. When I was an officer, the people that got warnings sometimes and got a speech, usually sometimes it's better you write the person a ticket and you're writing the same person a ticket the following week until you tow their car away. Literally that's been my experience, as an officer. But
my issue.
And I understand what you're saying completely, but yes.
You're asking for 40% more. That's my concern. And, are we okay with spending $30,000 for that officer to just drive around and say?
Well, that would be
hi?
for another officer, just to be clear, trying to get another officer, because they're limited, I think, because of FRS 25 or 30 hours.
And that's why another column would have been perfect, because then I would have known that. So, anyway,
How much are the FHP officers allowed to engage besides on traffic?
Say that again.
How much are the FHP officers allowed to engage besides traffic?
They can do anything. They just can't respond. If they see a crime in progress, they can act and do anything. But if there's a 911 call, they can back up the sheriff, but they can't be the first response officer.
And then for that officer that's writing the ticket, or not writing not writing as many tickets as the other officers, what is his mileage? Because they track their mileage every time they're in town. So if he's patrolling and not writing tickets, he's still.
Yeah, I think their mileage is on that sheet we have.
Is there a stat on that?
almost 900 miles in 7 months. Oh wait, that's the wrong officer. I'm sorry. Hold on. No, 930 miles, 5 tickets.
What are the other officers at?
895 miles, 34 tickets. 2,600 miles, 300 tickets.
But now you need to know how many days they worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets really involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, till
Mhm.
you
And
get
the
into
hours
it,
of the
right.
day they work. It gets really,
Yep. Yep.
I don't know,
And-
I think, and Joe's doing a good job bringing it up, but I think you just need better feel at it. Once you get out there and feel it a little better, you might feel better about
The
it.
house it's hard for me to tell a resident whose house was broken into that this is working, because I have one. That's
Well,
the
tell them that
house.
we're gonna increase another officer, hopefully, if they'll come. Plus, we need to probably look at the difference in the rate and what they're getting at the Turnpike to what we're paying, so that more of them wanna come over here and
Yeah,
help
it
us.
might be time for another little adjustment.
I was in
on it.
Leesburg today, and FHP's in Leesburg working
Yeah.
in the downtown area, so you know they're paying off-duty officers.
Yep.
Because think about it, if you're Claremont, and you got a speeding problem, and your Claremont police get out there, your Claremont residents mad. We're in Mascot on the highway, on 50. If your Mascot police officers ticketing people, Mascot residents, they're mad at Mascot. But if they spend $30,000 on an off-duty FHPs and have them come in and give people tickets on 50, they're not mad at Mascot.
So
I'm just
they
throwing it out
can't-
there.
They can't respond to a 911 call.
I mean, they probably would if like someone was being shot or something like that, but no, that's the duty of the Lake County Sheriff's Department. Like if you have a burglary or something, or, they're not going to respond to those calls.
Why not just hire private security then? If we could, for
We
that.
we
for-
legally can't because of liability.
We looked
Just to
at
drive
that,
around
yeah.
even if they don't get out of the vehicle?
Yeah, we had private security hired here 2 years ago. The council actually decided to go with more highway patrol because of looking into liability concern. Anita did some pretty deep analysis into it. So we had them at our facilities, at our parks and our water towers, water tank. They would check those out. But we got to be careful because it really comes into is if they're not a law enforcement officer, we don't want people to pretend to be law enforcement officers because that creates the liability because there may be an expectation of response. They could go do something on behalf of the town they don't have authority to do because security has very limited, capabilities of response, especially if they're not protecting a specific property that they're there for. Like a park, they could be security for the park, but they can't. If you go to I'm security for the whole town, you're trying to be a police officer.
We have safety patrol, though, correct? I mean, how does that differ then, if we have safety patrol?
Safety patrol
Patrol
is
has no
worthless.
authority to do anything.
They can't even, they can't say nothing.
Yeah, they
I guess
watch and look.
That's what I'm
What
asking.
exactly
We
is
need
the
more of
problems that
those.
we're trying to address right now? And not just the productivity of the officers, but what are the problems that we're trying to make better? Is it slow down people? Is it get more people, officers in town riding around? I guess that's where I'm at. I'm not understanding what the problem is.
For me, the concern was what we were paying and.
The productivity, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But-
And again, I'm not opposed to them driving the town. That's not, I don't want to make it look like for lawlessness in our town or anything like that. My concern is looking at those stats. And again, I hate to pick on one officer. It's the one officer that I have the major issue with.
But,
And
I'm
I do
looking at it,
support-
it's just a measure, one productivity measure. It's not the total
It's not
productivity of
even
the
the
measure.
ballpark, though. It's not even a close measurement. That's the issue. I mean, when
Yeah.
you look at the other stats, if I were those other officers, what benefit or what reason would they have to do anything other than like sit and watch YouTube in their car? Well, they're gonna get
But
paid
that's not what they're
$75
doing. If they did that, then they wouldn't be here. But again, it's the presence, it's the patrol. I think if you go to Claremont and pulled every officer's record, I think you see the same thing. I think you'd probably find 10 officers that write tickets nonstop, and you'll probably find half them in the middle, half of them probably wrote one ticket in the last 3 years. You'll see probably a similar scenario throughout the police departments. And then just one more thing, just your last little comment of, just want to respond to that real quick, where you mentioned, I wish there was a note in there about the 30,000 or
Right.
something like that.
That would make sense.
This process, we're not even approving the budget till September. This is the time for us to talk and go through it. I don't necessarily want to put 3,000 notes in there and have stuff. I'm throwing some numbers out for us to have. This is just an initial discussion. We can, in the past, we've had 2 of these discussions and you get 2 votes on the packet. And I think we had one, Mayor, we had 3 or 4 times when we went through the packet, and it seems like about 3 years ago, we went through 4 times. So this is a part of that process. So I want to talk through the notes, because sometimes you put notes and it becomes more confusing on things. So just want you to know, I'm not trying to hide or keep anything. I want to answer questions, talk about it, make changes, come back to you, go, it's a process. So.
Correct, and that's the reason I mentioned it is because that, again, it goes along with those values.
Maybe we should look at the statistics from the other side, that in our council meetings, we're given a report from, I think it's the fire department that gives us the sheet of how many calls were in Mineola, how many were here, how many were there, what they were, the breakdown of the times and all that. So you're a really good numbers guy, so you could probably break that down statistically, yes?
What would you be looking for?
comparison? Well, we're looking at it from the standpoint right now of we have X amount of officers, writing X amount of tickets, okay? And that's the only way we seem to be kind of sort of looking at it. Okay? You already mentioned once that your neighbor with the break-in. The one thing that we don't fully know is what are the results that we aren't seeing on paper. How many possible break-ins have been detoured, and that's a number that we'll really never know.
Right.
But if we look at what did occur, how many break-ins were there in Montverde in this particular time frame versus, and I hate to say Claremont just because they're so much larger, but again, a guy who's really good with numbers
Can't really compare it.
statistically
Oakland
compare
would be a
it.
good-
Exactly.
Break it
Oakland
down
would be
per
good.
population.
Yeah.
And maybe provide some information from that end so that we can have another way of measuring the results. Is that making sense?
I think so, but Oakland has their own
police department.
They're their own department though, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lake
That's
County
the
Sheriff
hard
does have some stats. I think they do it by zip code, though. We could look into that. I think it's on their website. We can maybe, I can spend some time, we can look at that too. But, you know, ultimately, you know, what the great goal would be is none of our residents or none of the people came through town ever got tickets because everybody was obeying. So, I mean, that's my end result is, you know, I would love to see ticket counts go down. And I mean, it's probably we actually did, when we started doing the highway patrol, when we did the switch over, we don't have the data on our speed cameras right now. We tried to pull it, had some damage, but if you, council recalls that we're here, we did a couple studies with the data, and when we did the highway patrol, we did see a significant drop, especially in the high speed stuff. We had some stuff that was 100 miles an hour down 455, if I recall right. But we did see a pretty good significant where we looked at it and was like, wow, that is making a difference. So we're going to try to get those speed limit signs going so we can, you know, really the best data is not necessarily, in my mind, is not necessarily the tickets, but are people slowing down? And whatever works to get that there, where if it's an officer sitting out there with his lights on or writing tickets or giving warnings, I think we got to look at what's the end result. And that's probably more of Mr. Morganelli, I think would feel better if we were seeing results compared to where we were 3 years ago. And we got that stats before we had the highway patrol. So let me see if I could dig some of that up for some future meeting for you guys, and we'll
I
do
hope
that.
this officer never pulls me over.
Well, another thing,
Well, the last officer that pulled me over gave me the ticket, so
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
getting, I have lights out and everything else I'll have on my
well, another
car.
thing too, that statistics aren't showing is that how many people are out of town, how many of our versus residents versus live in Astatula, live in Tiberias, going to work or something like that, which is, and you can't really gauge that prior to we had the troopers, how many of them were coming through town speeding and how many of them are not speeding coming through town, but they still come through town. So I don't want to get in a quagmire, but yeah, we got a lot to do, so I'm good.
Like Paul said, this is going to be ongoing discussion, so let's take what we just did here
I'm good, thank
and
you.
come back the next time we get together and talk more about it.
Any questions on fire control?
Fire?
Fire.
There's no expense there.
Code compliance. I'm going to jump down the garbage unless I hear anything on code. Garbage.
That's a pretty trashy subject.
It is.
Almost as bad as sewer.
Okay, Public Works. I do have a couple things in there I'll point out real quick. We do have a new Public Works employee starting, so it's actually broken up to here. I think, is it here, streets and water by, is that correct? Under machinery equipment, so there's a pro rata share broken down, I believe, in the 3 departments. Mile check on that for a new truck for Public Works. We currently have trucks for all employees except for the new one we're going to hire. We still have the old Ford truck, but it's going through oil and transmission, and the front end's gone on it. So you hear just the one you hear down the road. So, any other questions in Public Works?
What's the hurricane? 250?
Yes, so the 250 for the hurricane, remember when we did revenues, I said I put the 250 of revenues coming in for our FEMA. So if we get the FEMA money in, then I'll bring council a proposal to fix the dock at the park.
So that's Truscott Park.
Truscott Park, correct.
So the decrease from 2023 to 2024 on machinery and equipment, was that the skid steer that you guys bought? Is that why that went down so much? There's such a
That's
high
correct.
expense on-
Yeah, you're correct, sir. The skid steer.
And the same question that Mr. Morganelli had earlier regarding the subscriptions and memberships, that's
What line item is that, please?
155?
Yeah, so part of that is, again, for the software we're looking at. I got it divided out into the different departments I'm also trying to look at a software or some type of system to kind of make Public Works a little bit more efficient, and really so I can get more feedback of when things are done. because that's the one area sometimes we give the things and, oh, we got it, just, missed it. And, I want to kind of help them stay on top of that a little bit better. And I'm not sure what that looks like, but I want to look into something to.
And just to help me understand what goes in what category, as soon as I heard software, I would have put that under the IT type of category, as opposed to subscriptions and membership. But that subscription, is that like a monthly?
I mean, almost all the software we use, it's a
It's
monthly,
paid,
it's a
yeah.
monthly cost. Sometimes it's a
Yeah.
yearly fee, but
Yep, yep.
generally it ends up being that. It's kind of a catch-all for stuff we get charged for.
Well, the good old days when you could just go out and buy it.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know?
even, our Microsoft Works, it's,
Yeah,
you
we
get
will.
those subscription fees that pop in. And that we also do put in, like Chuck belongs to the Rural Water Association, that's like $100-something a year or something,
Yeah,
or
I got
$250 a
that.
year or something like that, so.
I got that part, yep.
And
Okay.
Paul, would that be also some of that for Public Works with the water department at Apopka Sound meter reading, and the software for that would be also spread out through?
So we
software.
actually have updated all the meter read software over the last, like, about 14 months ago. It got updated to all new system software. So the meters are all digital. They basically drive through. They have the capability now of pulling up to a meter and actually pulling up the day use on that meter and look. So when there's a water leak, we could say, hey, it looks like you ran your hose for 3 days because then it got turned off. We have the ability to do that now. So this will be more for, I think, daily tasks of trying to find something to assist and get those daily tasks out the door. Because since just even starting our construction projects here, what's going on, we are just getting hammered. Locates just keep jumping in front, and you have so many, you got supposedly 48 hours to do a locate. And sometimes those are just coming in. So if we have a stack of 30 other things that need to be done, from a tree trimming to other things, you get those locates, the next group come in, then there's a problem on construction site, all of a sudden 3 days are gone. But then you'll have weeks you won't get a locate. And so it's just then coming back of like, oh yeah, we had that from 2 weeks ago, we need to get back onto. Roads and streets. Couple of things I'll kind of point out to you in here. So line item 169, contractual services for streetscape and mowing. So that's for the mowing contract we'll have out. It's also divided up into parks. We have it in parks as well. So we kind of break it up into a couple different departments. And so that's going to be, we did get bids in ranging from 85 to 155. That will probably be in the 120ish range. Just FYI, I'm still going through ranking, but to do all the mowing, all of the fertilization, all of the weed pulling, weed spraying, to take that off of Public Works. And by doing that, I don't feel I need another Public Works position this year, because we spend so much time trying to clean things up. If we have that contracted out, that basically should really free up a half-time employee by doing that.
And when you say y'all, you mean all over town? Roundabouts, the whole 9 yards?
Well, all the towns, the
Down
areas
south.
that we take care of, the
Right, right,
roundabouts
right.
and, those kind of things,
Yes,
the
yes,
butterfly
yes.
garden, so
Park, the whole- yeah.
complete service.
Yep,
And
yep.
we got, some companies that bid that, they like do the hospitals and big HOAs, things like that. So hopefully we can, have a complete service contract on that.
Are they going to be doing the plantings as well, like rotating different plantings?
So in the contract, they're responsible for the planting in the downtown areas and then maintaining all the beds. So they'll change those out and they'll do the mulching to all the areas. So if we add like plants to the butterfly garden or put trees in, they won't do that. That'd still be our
What about
Public
the
Works.
roundabout?
Same thing there. And we'll probably leave those. We put something with a P, that plant with a P.
Perennials.
Or carpets?
That's Portocarpus, the blue flower one.
Oh, there you go.
We got Pombagos in there, so I'm hoping those will kind of fill in and look good.
Sure, okay.
over time on that. The other thing I just want to point out to you real quick is something here. Infrastructure, streets, and sidewalks. So there's a big increase in there from 160 to 220. That increase is one for just to keep with our street and sidewalk plan, but we also have money in there, which we've been talking about, to replace our entrance signs, our 2 entrance signs that need to move. Now, I'm estimating those are going to probably run $15,000 to $20,000 a piece, probably more toward the 20 range. It's just the estimate at this point. But we do have 2 entrance signs we need to replace.
We're gonna replace those with the same ones we got, right?
Well, yeah, more than likely we'll probably have to rebuild them. We'll try moving them.
No, I don't be moving them, I mean rebuild exactly.
Yeah. And I'll bring that back to council to make
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
you guys don't want any modifications to them, you know.
Mm.
I thought maybe making them a tad larger might look a little better, but
Mm.
I'll leave that up. Obviously, that'll come back to council before we do it.
Yeah.
Didn't something go before the visioning committee at some point in time about the signs into town?
They did, and the council at the time didn't. The design they had was a lot different what we had, and I think the council I think we just did the signs is what it was.
Yeah, it's just. the
Yeah,
signs.
not the signs. So
Not the
these are the actually
structure.
full structures that we need to move.
Mhm.
Then yeah, I'll probably, actually the physical signs I'll be bringing back to you. It seems the new logo is very popular and looks very modern, so I would like to keep it. I got a couple adaptations that I'll let you guys take a look at that, you know, kind of, because the year will run off eventually, but.
Don't worry, old logo, we still like you.
Any questions in streets? Everybody happy?
Yep.
Special events, don't mess with Christmas Council, good.
Turning page.
Don't be a Grinch. You're not gonna mess with Christmas, are you?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think Santa Claus deserves a bonus.
I know where you guys live. Now get your list. Come on, you know.
We need to have both hospitals in here, Advent and
Yeah, we sent a request out to both, so.
because they make the money. We'll give like that half to Advent and that half to Southbridge.
Yeah, a good portion Montverde is paid for with sponsorships. I won't say the whole amount, but a good portion is. I think we just started to send them out, and we're probably got 25 to 30,000 already committed just from sending them out last week.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
we
on
just-
on the revenue section, there's like $55,000 towards that
Fifty,
for Mount
yeah.
Verde.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I for donations. That's what I got in there for donations, and the rest we usually cover.
We need like 38,000 more.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's the donation thing takes a lot of time and it requires multiple phone calls, and they all want to meet with the manager, and it's kind of one of those things. As busy as I get busier, it's harder and harder to do.
They used to have to meet with the mayor.
Well, the one that surprised me was the Easter egg, the Easter hunt, the bump up in that. And I'm just
Yes,
sitting- yeah, the price of eggs, I guess. you know.
The price of egg. Yeah, so
I mean, not a lot, but still.
the big change in that, we haven't replaced our eggs in several years, and because of all the tape, they fall apart.
Cost
They're
of
getting
eggs?
so sticky, so we need more hatchlings going
Cost
forward.
of eggs.
You know, you guys are complaining about Santa back down there, but last year, a bunch of us Santas got together and we went to the hospital, to psychiatric ward, and we suddenly were singing, and we realized that singing, "Do you hear what I hear?" is not a good thing to sing there, so
It is.
you learn.
It was funny though.
All right, cemetery.
Postage and freight?
Nothing in that.
I mean, it's nickel and dime. I got that, but I'm just curious what freight might be.
You
for
just
the
split that up, don't
cemetery.
you? Across
I
percentages.
was wondering the same thing. What is free?
It's $400.
I'm
Yeah,
almost afraid
so-
to ask, but yeah.
I know the answer to that. Let's see.
That's when you send out the thing.
Yeah, we have to send out notices. We moved that to every couple years,
Yeah.
but I'll have to look into that one. There's
You
a
got it
reason we got
certified, don't
400.
you?
Yeah, not
Yeah, but-
questioning the
Yeah.
figure, just curious what it
It-
is.
It's
Yeah.
certified
The
mailings.
certified mailings for people who have reservation agreements, we need to keep monitoring and asking, do they
still
still
want it.
intend to keep their reservation? Because sometimes they move and forget.
If you don't pay attention to it, you got 130-year-old people that have
Well, my great
reservations.
Uncle John, he comes in on a freight truck, you know, I just back it up and drop him in.
Okay.
Library, on that same page, page 7.
No, library's fine.
Actually got a decrease in library. The main decreases, I'm moving the 2 library positions from a full part-time to 2 part-times with additional staff member that we have in the office going forward. So that's a part of that pay
Is that
savings.
24? You got 2 positions, right?
I'm on page 7 and 10, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying,
yeah, yeah.
looking at this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what we got now, right? Part-timer and a full-timer.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Any other questions on library?
Promotional activities, it jumped up from 1,500 to 12,500.
Yes.
I got that, yeah.
Yeah, so that is programming, and so part of the new library is hopefully hosting a couple of different events. And I think Ms. Womack, you brought that up. What I want to do with that funds is work with Lake County and see if we could commingle those funds with other libraries, so we can have like a touring author come talk, a kids read come talk, maybe an art class, maybe a senior program, some health programs. So I'm hoping to use it as seed money to grow something that we don't have to run, but the county can run, that will benefit us as a county.
I know I have several neighbors that are asking, I don't know, about some of those programs. I'll keep it nice.
Sure, yeah, I mean, you know, I wouldn't anticipate anything major this fiscal year coming up, but I'm hoping to, I've been talking with Ms. Barker, the county manager. I think she's putting a little bit of seed money in to try to do something, and what I like to use this money is to help them get somebody out to do the fundraising, because I've actually doing Montverde the last year. I talked to a lot of our sponsors, and they'd be like, we would love to sponsor some type of programs in the library, so I want to help get them connected with sponsors so that maybe they can get 100,000 connected, and we can have like a South Lake County, because it would be really cool. You know, you can hire one person that can do guitar lessons, say instance on Tuesday night they would be in Montverde, Wednesday night Mineola, and they would do that for, you know, 7 days or 7 weeks or something like that, and we can have rotating things going on at the library.
Yeah, I meant like senior activities. I think you would, yeah, that was the main thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Okay. And we are finally at Parks and Rec. Getting an increase in there for mowing. That's the 80,000 you see in there on line 235. Any other questions there?
I had one actually back up at library, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The internet jumped up.
Yeah, 15,000.
Yeah, from 2,500 up to 15,200. And I remember you saying something to me in the library at one point, but I wanted to just clarify that one.
Yeah, so in part of this I need to get with and clarify with Lake County. So we have an agreement we have federal funds that we get to pay for the internet, and we have a dedicated high-speed line. It's actually Comcast ran a full fiber line to every single library. And this year, they're supposedly going to charge us and reimburse us. But then the county came back and said that, so like, you know, if it's, I think it's like $1,000 a month and we get 900 of it reimbursed back. But then the county talked about taking it over, and then we would just pay them an X amount of money, like that percentage that's different. And I've never got a final number for them, so I just went ahead and put the worst case scenario in there. So that may come down possibly, but that's basically for the internet for the library. When you get the federal funds, it has to be a complete dedicated line. You can't commingle your town internet. You can't use it for other things besides library because of the federal funding grant agreement we have.
Thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that concludes the general budget. And we will jump over to water, which is page 9.
$266.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, a question on 266?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is for our consumptive use permit, to finish that out. As I think I mentioned a meeting or two ago that St. John's Water Authority was wanting us to do a full alternative water use study. Actually, as of last week, we've gone back to them. We think we got them off of that. If we move forward with our lower aquifer well that we have our grant money for, just waiting for that get approved, and that amount, the study actually will go down to under $50,000 from 110 is what we had budgeted for. The rest of that is software to run Cassell, the portion of Excel that does all of our accounting and water media. In addition, it runs, what's the name of our software for our meters? Neptune software. So we have to pay subscription services for that.
And I know we're going to get to it, but eventually, line 267 again, TM allowances. So just
Correct.
okay, and we'll get when we get to that.
Any other questions on water? Okay. That one's a pretty open and close, easy to follow. Sewer utility.
Hey, Paul, wanted to back up a little bit. 290, our bulk water purchases went down from Oakland. Is that basically because they've finished build out and the demand isn't as great?
So,
Contractors.
so when we did the budget last year, I didn't really know it. So we purchased our potable finished water from Oakland for at a bulk water rate. Then we turn around and sell it to the residents. I didn't know what that was going to look like because there's some fines if they use more water, like it triples if they use X amount of water. So last year was the first year when we did that, we're still finishing the build out. So I had a higher number in there just to cover, but now that we have some history there, we're not using as much water or purchasing as much water
That's what I figured,
as we thought.
You had the history to justify.
And it's still changing, you know, they're still kind of finishing out and people are trying to finish their lawns out and stuff. So there's going to be some changes there too. It's okay. And sewer?
We had a substantial decrease in repair and maintenance. That's just because we're pretty much up to date on all of our stuff in terms of pipe replacement and all of that. 312.
No, sorry. Help if I got on the right page, wouldn't it?
10 of 10. Shoot and score. And it's no big deal because
Yeah.
the price went down, so yay. Woohoo. Saved
Yeah,
money.
so when I do the sewer budget, the 25,000 and like the 60,000, that is projected surplus from operating the system. And so I put it in the repair and maintenance in case something comes out, we need to do repair and maintenance. Then what happens if it's not used, it goes into the cash surplus fund. And so we keep track of that, and that fund builds money as a restricted fund that can only be used for sewer. So that literally was, when I did the budget, that was what was left over of the budget. And so I put it in there as repair versus a reserve fund. But then if it's not used, then it goes into additional cash balance, like a savings account that's kept. And you'll see those in your finance reports that you get every month.
Same thing with 318 from sewer charges of Claremont went up, so that was same thing basically. We have history.
The sewer is, part of that is I know Hills of Montverde is going to pop on, and we're going to have to do some testing and everything on there. So I'm expecting some higher bills out of that going forward. If we don't get it, it just goes into your cash surplus. Okay, so next is all right, so I'm going to go over to the salary sheet that looks like so. Am I on the sheet there? So what I have proposed in here is under 2026, as you're highlighted, is your a 3% increase for staff, with a 2.5% CPI, or excuse me, other way, 3% CPI. I think CPI ended up like at 2.9 something, just almost 3%. Then up to a 2.5% merit for staff. I do have within that, there's a little bit of a few numbers. Do you have the note one? Mike? Do you have the one with the notes? There's two market adjustments I have in there, and Mike's going to pull that up real quick. One is for our assistant town clerk in training to get her up a little bit higher. I'll get that number for you in a minute, and the other one is for for the accounting. Okay, so accounting is the 5.5 plus 2,000, and the assistant town clerk is the 5.5 plus 5,000. Then I guess also as we get into that discussion, as you guys have in front of you is kind of the salaries, kind of town managers going through. As you can see, it's I'm definitely on the bottom end of things, and with the I have the 5.5 built in, but with the upcoming workload over the next 18 months with all these capital projects and just the amount of hours and comp time I don't even report, I want to ask you for consideration of doing an additional bump as well on mine. We can jump into that whenever you want to, but Mayor, I'll let you kind of how you want to start on salaries or walking through that, or answer questions first. And this does fund a new full-time office position that's in here as well. And that's under administrative assistant to TM.
You guys got this, right?
I'm assuming you're going to say something
Hmm?
first. I'm assuming you're going to say something first. That's why I haven't said
No,
anything.
go ahead. Well, I'm, okay.
Please, yeah, you go.
I'm probably more familiar with this than most, but looking at it real hard, we have to remember in the smaller cities, this job has to interact with everybody every day, every single person. So it's a little more confusing than a lot of jobs. And then it's easier than other cities because they don't have as many people. So, you know, for me, I'd be okay with giving him a bump of like $6,000–7,000 a year. So that would be putting him right about 140 from 133. I'm sure he wants more, but that's all I'm thinking.
That puts it up with Oakland, and again, Oakland has police. They have their own department.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct? Oakland has their own police force?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that puts it up to that point where we don't have that responsibility here, nor.
How many more employees does Oakland have compared to Montverde?
Just the police.
But in
They-
town hall, it's about the same amount of staff.
Yeah, town hall's the same there, Howie.
Howie has a little bit more.
But 15 employees, is there? We got 11, right? Yeah.
Or how
We're
we have
fixing to have
15.
13 right
Yeah,
now because we're
that's
hiring 2 people. So it's pretty much the same, 13, 15. You know, when you get up into like Leesburg, you know, they have their own garbage, they have their own electric, they have their own fire, you know, so it's a whole different ballgame. But
And a lot of directors, I will say that.
and Traverse is way overpaid. But that's just my opinion. You know, I gotta give Paul some credit here because I can't tell you how many times I tell him a week to go home. Because he can't, he's here Saturday, he's here Sunday, I'm getting my mail. Like, you can't work and we can't bank that many hours and you're not gonna have time to do it. You know, it take it, because the only time he really can take it is right after Montverde to like April, March. And then it's too busy. Like right now, it's too busy. It's gonna be that way through Montverde and Christmas. We all know that, between the elections and everything else. So, you know, he does work above and beyond the amount of hours.
So what was the dollar amount that you were saying?
7,000.
So it's about 0.75% of the entire budget for staff.
Yeah. It's not much. I'm sure he wants more.
So Joe, you're saying that the increase plus the 132 plus the 7, right?
Yeah, it's 139 really. I mean 133 with 930 there. So it'll go to 140 and then we're done. You know, and that's, you know, I mean, if you're okay with that, I mean, I'm okay with that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking definitely for something in the 1.4 range, and it's just really, you know, I'm looking back and Kathy's like, if you really put the hours of what you're making, because the amount of hours you're in, because as you know, every council member has called me on weekends, has called me on nights, and I have no issue with that, no problem. I don't log any of those times when I have to come in for something. I don't log that down for comp time, because it just, there's no way to take it all. In addition, every pay period, while I do get comp time, my comp time doesn't start till I work 10 hours above my 80-hour work week. So all that time is free on top of the 80 hours of work. So I'm paid for 80. I give you 10 free. Then I get comp time, just not time and a half, just time off. You know, if I work 10 hours, so if I work 20 hours over a pay period, I get 10 hours of comp time. So as my wife was saying, we need to kind of look at that a little bit, and you know, just the demands I think over the next 24 months are going to be pretty pressing on me, and just being compensated for that, and I think fairly versus trying to get another staff position in.
How much comp time do you have, or are you able to collect?
Right now, well, I think I'm going to end up probably with 20 hours of comp time this pay period, maybe 30 from this pay period, because I think I worked all weekend.
Does it hit a cap?
Yeah, there's not a cap. I have to spend it within 90 or 120 days, I think is what we put it on. And so I have a limit to spend it or I lose it, basically.
Right, and he lost.
Yeah, so
He
most
lost
times.
quite a bit.
So right now I got 0. This pay period I'll pick up
It
some more.
isn't fair. You know, it's a bump. It's nothing, $7,000.
This
Even
is,
at 140, he's still below everybody else in the area.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that too. I don't want to get
There is.
stupid about it. Me, you know,
yeah.
you know, a guy in Mineola, you know, he's been there a long time, and you have to look at that. Mark's been there, I don't know, 16, 17 years now, so he's gotten raises over the year. And a lot of these guys in here are pretty new, and not so new. Like, who else just got replaced here? I don't remember. Fruitland Park's not on it, yeah. Right, and they have a full,
What's Fruitland Park?
they got police.
Right.
They got a-
Fruitland Park is paying 160 to 165. They have police, they use county fire, and they have water, but they have a contractor that runs the system, and then they get sewer from Lady Lake.
Right, but the point being, they just hired somebody just starting out brand new.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. So
Does
that's what I'm
Windermere
saying.
have a town manager?
Say that again?
Windermere? Do they have a town manager?
I assume they do.
Oh, yeah, Windermere?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, the other thing, if I put the stat in there, would probably telling is, you know, for instance, Mascot has an assistant manager, and I think their salary is the same as my salary.
Dolly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so most of the assistant managers, you know, I know I don't think there's anybody paying assistant manager under 100 that I'm aware of anywhere.
No, under 100.
I was actually going to make the suggestion that we hired an assistant manager today, but
Let's
Yeah.
put the administrator assistant to town
Yeah.
manager is on.
You know, and I did, after your suggestion, I did look, I appreciate you offering that. I did look and contemplate a little bit, even talked with Nate a little bit and talked Mayor, you know, assistant manager, when you put in the FRS is 34%, so you're probably at, you know, 110,000 on the salary, 34% FRS, your insurance, basically you're gonna have to put $200,000 in the budget.
Mhm.
And it's, most managers do not, and assistant managers do not stay in a small town this size. They leap. I mean, obviously, you look at the job openings have been in there. I mean, it would be easy for me to leap into 160, 180. I love being here. You know, I love small towns. I like wearing jeans, you know, so I'm dedicated to that, and that's not my intent, nor do I want to do that. But also, I'm just the workload is heavy now, and I think trying to spend $45 million that I helped bring into the town is going to be really challenging for the next 24 months. I mean, it's going to be tough to get it out the door. So it's going to take a lot of extra work. I apologize. I think you said 141. Am I correct? Is that what you said? Is that the amount? 140? Is that not counting or counting your allowances as well? Or do we have to add the allowances on top of that? Because that would put you around, over 150 then, if you would
Yeah,
count
you
those
mean the car
allowances.
and the phone?
Well, all those TM allowances on all
That's your
these
car and your
pages.
phone.
Yeah,
right?
so that's car and phone.
That's car, phone, and insurance, car insurance and a phone.
And that figure is not included in the salary.
No,
No.
none of the town manager, nor is
No.
retirement included in that,
Nor-
or
yeah, it's
FICA or any of that.
FRS, none of
So-
that. Remember now, assistant city manager and a city manager, the state governs how much you put in FRS. And it's a lot of money. It's what, 30-something%, isn't it?
It changes annually. The state sets what that is.
I think
Mhm.
I have it right here.
I think it's well over 30%, and nobody else has that in our office. No.
So counting the allowance and the 140, what does that equal out to? So that we're all on the same
It's
page.
33, almost
Wow.
34%.
It's 33% of their salary. It was
For
hard.
senior management,
Nice.
that's what the state requires you to
Nice
put in
pension.
FRS. So,
Maybe one day we'll be able to give our employees that.
yeah, I think it went up to, 13% for normal employees.
Well, again, this is just discussing stuff here. I mean, take it in, we're gonna come back and we're
I
gonna.
still have a couple other questions yet.
Yeah,
before
yeah.
we go. I mean, so, again, if you take the 140 in all the TM allowances, what does that total out to? Is it,
Mike,
Well-
can you look at calculating that real quick?
Well, remember now, these people are gonna have the same thing.
yeah, I'm not worried about
So that's gonna be like 34% of what's 200,000.
Maya's going to try to do a quick calculation for that.
That's, what is that, 34%, 200,000, that's $68,000 more on somebody who makes 200,000, yeah.
I don't, that's okay. I
Well,
get
no,
that
but that's what
part.
we're using to
Yeah.
compare us to other people.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the other errors I guess I'll bring up in my contract is my contract, I opted out of FRS, and in my contract I have 29% going to, I did a 401 because I want to put more of my salary in retirement than what FRS lets me do. And when we did it, we didn't do it at the rate adjusted with FRS. We just put the rate at the time. So when we do our contract, that will be something I ask for council to adjust, because if I don't go with 401, I got to go I go back to FRS anyway. So it's that rate no matter what.
Well, question, it doesn't, maybe I'm missing it here, but the T&M doesn't really, it's kind of a non-effective. I mean, if you got to drive to Tavares, whether you're making X or if you're making X plus Y, the distance is same, the mileage is same. If you get so many phone calls, it's still the same whether you're at the lesser rate or the higher rate. So the T&M is just, it's not really relevant. I mean, you're going to drive to meetings, you're going to have to go to county, whether you're making $1 or making $10, it's the same thing. Your allowance is going to be the same. I mean, your phones, your car allowance, that's all the same. It hasn't changed. So that's kind of to me, a fixed thing. It's not going to replace whether you give them 50,000 or 2,000. So.
No, but the reason I was asking is it's an addition on top of what this is. That's why.
Okay.
You know, and
Right, like a mini old guy, he gets a city vehicle. He doesn't get T&M for his car. He chose to take T&M for his car.
I know, and I know you keep comparing other cities. I don't really care about that part. I'm just going to be honest. I don't. Like, I understand why you're giving us this. I don't know. I'm sure Mayor and Mr. Hartle, I think you guys will remember this. Billy Bates was up here at one point, and you guys went through this exact discussion back then. It was more money back then, but it was the same situation, the same dialogue that took place, where Paul had asked for a similar situation in this kind of race. And nothing against you, Paul, about that. It's just, it's a lot of money. And I mean, on top of that, and then you're looking at all the other merit and CPI increases for all the existing staff who actually need that money. My concern is bumping up this 7, almost 8%. It's a lot. I mean, I don't know. I have an issue with it, but again, I know it's just a discussion right now. I just have an issue with it.
What would you like to see?
To be honest, my notes, I wrote down to do the COLA, basically 3.2% across the board, and let Paul decide on who gets what based on merit and everything else. That's what I wrote down for it, including himself. Because again, I don't know any residents that are going to get 7+% raise, or let alone 5.5 or 5% with all these. I don't know them. I know I'm not getting that in my business. I don't know any of our residents that are, and we're going to pass this on to our residents.
But also, I just throw out, you got to look at market rate too. You know, what is, I mean, I've had other cities attempted to poach some of my staff and offer them, what do you want to come? Because they know what we pay. And so when you look at salaries, I think it's trying for my staff, I'll defend them left and right, is, you know, I think when you look at the market rate, and maybe that's something we need to look a little heavier, but I mean, I know Anita works for 2 other towns. We're very low compared to the market where we're at, and this is kind of trying to get them up a little bit every year, so it's not one big hit. So I'll defend that. Then also, I think the dedication of the staff and longevity of staff. I mean, when you have 3 public works employees and you lose one, you lose 33%. If I lose my permitting official, I have 100% of my permitting office gone, which means, what do? And I think we need to take that into consideration. We have a very small staff, and when we look at it is much cheaper to pay 12 staff members than to pay 16, which is really with these grants we got going. You know, you're right. Should be a manager, assistant manager. You know, honestly, I think, you know, when you see what you're getting for me, there's not a credential manager on that list that makes less than almost $150,000, and I have the ICME credentialing and the background to do it. So, but I'm not asking for that. But I just think you also got to look at the bigger picture. We save the town money because of the dedication and the work of the staff. Everything's not perfect. I get that. There's always room for improvement, and I'll be the first to say that. But our staff, I think, works hard for this town, and I don't feel we're at market rate for most of these positions that we're at, and that's why I've seen these slow bumps get where they need to. We can't afford to lose them the next 24 months. That's the reality of it. I mean, think about what that would do for us with the stuff we have coming down. Who can you afford to lose here?
I think our staff is phenomenal. That's not, I mean, I don't, you know, please don't.
But that's the justification is what I'm sharing. That's all. And I'm not saying you don't think they aren't. I'm just saying that's a justification.
I'll throw out I'm just me speaking, obviously. What about you doing the 3%, the 3.2%, and the other additional, instead of that, maybe giving that to the staff then? I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, you know, help the staff out then. It's just my thoughts. I mean, I had a lot of other thoughts on that part, but that was, I mean, anyway, not talking about it.
Does the staff accrue a lot of overtime as well?
They do get some. I mean, Montverde and things along that line, yeah, they do get overtime. Yes.
But not to the level that you did?
No. I mean, theirs is more hit and miss. You know, for instance, you know, Mai's getting hit with Doge this next 2 weeks. She's going to have a lot of overtime to get the Doge stuff done for the state of Florida. So, you know, that's coming. Montverde, you know, we work 16-hour days and going forward. So, but I don't know. I just, when you look at, you know, I really have never fought here too hard for anything, but when you look at the market rate for where managers are at in the area, and I don't care. You ask any manager working in a small town or a big town, especially the ones working small, they'll say, I'll never go back because you work so much harder, I think. And you have all the same responsibilities, honestly, minus if you have a police union, but you have a police chief to handle those things too. You got to direct them. So I'll leave it at that.
We don't need to make a decision on this until September with the budget?
Well, what I need to do is kind of get some number to put, at least, you know, we got to get a number in the budget. When you sign the budget, that'll be nice. You don't necessarily need to have it tonight, but I need to get, before we get to the final budget, we need to try to have everything worked out.
Well, my 2 cents is 6% and 10 grand, and go with that. That's only, the 6% is only $3,000 increase from the 833 to 836, and that's with 10 employees, that's only $300, and that's $30 a month, or what, $750 something a week.
Can you explain
increase.
I'm not following you, I'm sorry.
Okay. We've got the 2026 is at 5.5. I suggest 6%.
So the column to the right is what
Right.
Mr. Hartle's suggesting.
Okay.
We went from 883 to 886, and with 11 employees, you figure that out. That's less than $300 a year, and you figure that by 52, that's six and some change a week. That's a McDonald's meal if you're lucky. That's the way I look at it.
And what was the 10,000? You said in plus 10,000.
The mayor suggested 7. That brought it up to 40, and I just thought a round number of 10. That brought it up to 43
For Paul?
for Paul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking around 1% of the entire budget, which would have been around 8, instead of the 3/4 of a 1%.
And somewhere between 8 and 10 would make 9.
I'm the odd man out at 3%.
Well, it frustrated me too to find out that, a long time ago, to find out that, because I worked at the corporations and we would get 2%, 2.5%, 3% raises, and that was it. And inflation was 2.7. What do we get? Nothing. So when I came here and I was doing the salaries for these guys and the positions, and I was having other city managers help me and lead me, they were like, well, the government jobs get the cost of living raise and their yearly raise. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The whole world doesn't do that. And I felt the same exact way, and I think I said the same exact thing you said, is how am I supposed to explain that to people that get 2 and 3% raises a year? And unfortunately, that's the competition that this building has with employees. The other cities who constantly, and the county, who constantly look for help, do that. So you have to be realistic and say, okay, well, if we don't do it, somebody else is going to do it for them, so you got to do it. That's kind of like looking at salaries. You always do a competitive market, and what they're getting paid, there it is. The only thing that I've always taught people to do is you got to find out how long these people have been in place. Because the guy that just got hired in Fruitland Park is getting 160 with a police department and 200 employees, 100 employees compared to us. That's all comes into play. Does that make sense? So me to bump him $7,000, it's chump change. That's just my opinion. And for the employees, you do the cost of living raise, and then you give them enough money to give them a yearly raise on top of the cost of living raise, only because it's a government job. That's just me.
Paul's the first town manager that we've had, and I think that as a community, we're still kind of adjusting to the cost of all that. Myself personally, I think every penny that we've paid him is money well spent. And I kind of agree with Mr. Hartle here at the 3 and throw in another 10.
Yeah. The what?
What you put up? 3?
Yeah, 3.
3% with 10?
It was a 6% total
Just
increase.
6% plus 10.
Yeah.
6% for
Everybody.
everybody.
Do you get a figure on how much grant money you made the town since you started?
Oh, good 40 million easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's well over 40 million and brought in 350 last week.
And before he came here?
Nothing.
0.
It's
Well,
a
the
good
reason
return
we-
on your investment, though.
And Anita was here. I mean, one of the reasons, one of the main reasons we went for this government, or I went for this government personally, is the money. The town needed the money. I don't know how to split it. And he's doing it, or the position's doing it for us. He's doing a good job at it, working with our engineers and getting the money we need. And our attorney. I know. But anyway, so you're okay with what? I'm sorry.
I'm
6%,
okay with the
yeah.
total for the employees, 6% increase. That's the 3.4 CPI and the 2.8 merit. And the merit, from what Paul has explained, that's discretionary on his part. So
Okay. And then his?
his was a 10 across the, you went from a 7. I just suggested 3,000 more to make it 10.
Let's round it up.
How do you feel about it?
I agree. I'm in support of that.
I'm a no vote on the budget at this
Okay.
point.
And you? It's hard for you, I understand, you just
You only need
first
4, so you
meeting.
don't gotta worry about my vote.
No,
No,
that's not
this isn't
that.
a vote. We
No,
just-
I
It's not a
know.
vote,
Yeah.
it's just
No,
how do
but
you
I know
feel
that,
about it?
but we all know it's not gonna change, so I mean, I'm a no vote for the budget at this point, so.
Don't say it's not gonna change.
Will there be any further discussion on this?
Yeah.
Is it possible
Oh,
to
yeah.
talk
Yeah,
about
we're
this?
just trying to give him
course.
direction.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
mean,
It-
what
it
I'll
isn't
do
written in
is
stone.
if you want to go, I guess that long story short, take me to 142-ish and 6% on the staff, plus I did propose $2 and $5, $7,000 worth of mark bumps. I'll punch all that into the budget again, and we'll take another look at it. That way you can see what everything
Yeah,
looks
because he has
like.
to make all those sheets add up to our
Right,
number,
right.
one number.
I mean, let's do it, and then we can always come back to it later.
I'm okay with doing it and looking at it.
Yeah, just
We'll try it.
Yeah, this isn't the decision. This is the discussion.
Yeah, the decision will be in September when we have that. That'll be the final decision on things, so.
Okay.
Is there any other things in the budget that you didn't see that you would like to see as we look through the budget?
Well, yeah, everybody's increase was in there except for the council stipend. What was that increase? I'm kidding.
We used to get $125 to sit here. From my first 8 years was $125 a month. And the only reason I asked it, I don't know if you were here, but I asked the council to raise it, was that other people would even get considerate than to be on council. Because they were like, $125 for what? And I'm like, a month. They're
For
like,
hours and hours worth of wonderful reading, all crammed into 48 hours. But
When
hey,
I was in
kudos to the staff.
when I
Get
was in
that out.
Colorado, the mayor in Denver makes $250,000.
yeah, that's
What about,
ridiculous.
I had one other question, actually. What about roads? Are we gonna add more to roads for coverage? I know we talked about that.
Yeah, so let's go back to that sheet real quick. I think it was.
Well, we have 220 in that.
Streets. Yeah, it had the signs and the increase.
Went from 80 or 120, didn't it, to 220?
I'll try and find the page number for you guys.
six.
Number 6.
Yeah, page 6.
Line
So, yes,
181.
Mr. Morganelli. So 160 to 220, noting that some of that money is going to be for the signs, to do the signs. The other thing we're going to have is, we're going to have all the storm projects, which will have some road money. We got the $350,000 for the crosswalks that you and I talked about, trying to get those by the school. We got Lake County's also going to hopefully contribute some money to the project as well. In addition, there's a couple, not all of them, but I think like when we do the water project down Alpha, more than likely that will necessitate, because that line needs to be increased, some of that road will get repaid with that. Then what I've been doing on roads is, I look for the worst sections of roads that from a standpoint of are going to crumble and fall apart, and focus on those. The next little piece will likely be that little section on 3rd Street between Porter and Lakeside. As you know, we're getting Lakeside done. We're hoping the stormwater project will take care of Lake, Highland, all of 455, 7th, 8th, and 9th Street. Plus we have the $1.5 million, the developers are going to contribute to additional money for the roads. And so more than likely in the next 24 months, we should also be able to take care of Kirkland and Broadway and, which, just going down the worst scenario roads. And then, really what's left is then starting to look at the bigger subdivisions that we have in town, going up to Allen subdivision and Mag, 4 or 5 years down the road just to resurface those. The challenge with roads is when you get, right now, as you know, we've been doing the roads, and I think been doing a pretty good job. It's been a mom and pop kind of group. It's a father and a son that own the company. I mean, 40% less than even with just getting somebody else. But when we get over, I think it's a $200,000 threshold. Anita probably doesn't know, 200, 225, we have to go, because it's a public works project, have to go into public bids. And like this lakeside project was $785,000. If I was able to do it with my local contractors, it'd probably be $300,000 to $400,000. So doing small little sections at a time and just working through the process is, I think, a good plan for the towns. We'll get the most bang for the buck from a cost saving wise. Sorry, that was probably a little longer than what you need. Yes.
Well, no, we discussed last week at council that 6.5% in Valorum increase on property values to look at transferring that into roads. I think, Joe, you mentioned that. And
Yeah, that was something, I brought up as well, about the increase from the millage rate.
Yeah, and so we do have the increase in streets, and, really, I think we're going to try to get the max we can with this grant money we have to do storm, and part of that storm is doing roads, putting gutter in, things along that line. So we're going to have our hands full for the next 24 months. I mean, trying to spend $20 million in 18 months is going to be a challenge.
okay, I got a wrapping it up. Got a challenge question for you. I'm like Joe. I'm 2 o'clock in the morning seeing these bad visions of our grant money just ran out and the project is still going, and it's like now we're on the hook for it. Realistic or hypothetically, let's call it that way, hypothetically, are we going to make it?
Yeah, I mean, the challenge is, we won't be on the hook because we'll bid what we can get done in the amount of time we have to get it done, and we'll just have to have clauses in there, or the contractors have to eat it if they don't get done. There is the challenge, and we had the $1.8 million grant that we had for storm. We had a grant, a $200,000 match from Lake County Water Authority. They chose not to renew that grant. We spent maybe $60,000 of that. That just happened 2 weeks ago. However, they said we will reapply for it, and it's ours to have, is what they told us. They just had other municipalities that have done nothing, even though we've done some stuff. So we're going to get the money back. But those are the risks, and it's a time. We have to get this stuff on time. And I'm really pushing our engineers to get this stuff done. But the big delay right now is DEP. The water grant, they've had over 2 months, and they promised us they're getting to it soon. We're DEP has to approve the facility plan, then they actually have to approve the project. This one on Lakeside, DEP did visit last week. In fact, Carol, you were out there, walked by. It's probably kind of why I just pushed off, because they were actually doing the full inspection and everything, and that went really well. We had a good visit with them on that. So we'll just push and get as much done as we can, and get it done as quick as we can. It's going to be a challenge, but I think we'll get it done.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all good here. Everybody go home, think about everything we talked about, and come back to the next meeting.
Oh, and Mayor, just one more comment. So the one thing that's not in your budget is the capital projects. That's not in your budget. So, and those are all the grant money / impact fees we have for projects. And we're spending the money so quick. If I put it in here, it would mean absolutely nothing next month. So those are, if we have the grant money, we have $12 million spent on water, you're going to have $12 million in the budget. So it's whatever grant money we have will be the capital. So it'll match what's in the current budget. It'll just be whatever the money is we have left. So you'll see that in the September one, because I put it in now, it just really doesn't mean anything because the money's just going out the door, as we do these projects. So.
Alrighty. Anybody want to talk anymore? Okay. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And have a good night.